And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Tabuals is a small card game, which is essentially, there's two games you can play with it. One is called Hijinks, and the other is called Tabuals, which is named, the game is after that. Tabuals is a trick-taking game. The other is some kind of matching game. I'll show you both real quick, and then I'll tell you what I think of the game. There's a whole deck of cards, and they have different numbers on the cards, and that's based on the dice here. You can see there's an orange 3 die and a yellow 1 die, which gives us a number of 4. And there's different cards, and some of the dice have blank dice on them, and those are used only in a 5-player game, but there's different dice that are in the game. Now this is essentially a trick-taking game. So you're going to take the deck, and you're going to deal it evenly to each person. For each trick, someone will play a card, and then each other person has to play a card that matches one of the colors on the card. So for example, I could play this card here because it has a black die, just like the die on the bottom of the card. Or I could play this one here because it's a yellow die, just like the yellow one on the card. Or I could even play this one here because both colors match. And then the next person has to play one that matches one of these two colors. And so players will play all these until the round is over. Now, after all the cards have been played, whoever plays the highest number is the winner. If there's a tie, whoever played their card last is the winner of the trick. However, doubles will win a trick automatically, and the highest pair of doubles will always win any kind of trick, except for the Jinx card. This card wins all the tricks, and there's one of these. So when you win a trick, you set it aside, and you keep going. Now, the way Tabuals works is before each round, you are going to guess how many tricks you can win. And I forgot to mention, as you're playing the game, if it comes up to a place where you need to play a card and you can't play any card that follows this, then you have to discard a card from your hand. But you're trying to guess how many tricks you're going to take, and you're going to get points for each trick you take, but you also get points if you were correct in the number of tricks that you take. There's also a bit of bluffing, per se, where if there's an optional rule where you have a card that you can play, but you discard one saying that you can't play one, and someone doesn't believe you, they can look at your hand, and if you were lying, then they get points, and if you were telling the truth, you get points. It's kind of a, I don't know, a bluffing rule that didn't really add anything to the game for me. But anyhow, after a certain number of hands, whoever has the most points from guessing tricks correctly and simply taking tricks is the winner. In Hijinks, players are dealt some cards from the deck. They have 5 cards in their hand. And the card is placed here in the middle of the table, and on your turn, you are trying to play a card on top of it that either matches in the position, so I have a yellow one with a yellow one there, or that matches so that when you add the two numbers together, it equals 7. So, for example, I could play this one here, and you can see that the 2 and the 5 there make a 7. Or sometimes it's possible to play a card so that both of them make a 7. So if I played a card that had a 3 on the top and a 5 on the bottom, like this card here, this would make a 7 on both of those. Now if I match dice, like the first 2 cards, I draw a card and put it in my hand. If I make a 7, I don't have to draw a card. If I make double 7s like there, then I can go again if I want to. And then double cards will force draws. 7 cards let you swap cards. The Jinx is a dead card that you can only get rid of. Essentially, this is an advanced version of Uno. But that's basically what it is. And when you get rid of all the cards from your hand, then you announce the sum of everyone else, the number of the cards they have in their hand is the points they get. It's very similar to Uno in that regard. So there you have it. I'm not real keen on this game, either one of them. No, don't get me wrong, I like trick-taking games, and guessing the number of tricks, that's a good idea, but it's already been done very well in the Seven Seals, or Dice Stephen Schakal, or whatever it's called in German. I really like that version of the game. The dice on the cards is a neat idea, and there's even an option where you can roll dice and match them, but it just was a little too confusing. You know, trick-taking games, it's like, okay, you play that, I play this, boom, 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 boom. Here you look at the cards in your hand, you say, okay, which cards match, and I can put out, okay, I'll put this one out. And there's really no long-term strategy. Yes, it's interesting and different than many other trick-taking games, but nothing. And the other one is just kind of another advanced variant of Uno. And how many of those do we really need? It's going to take a little bit longer as you try to match the cards, and I can see some people having fun with this, but it really wasn't my style at all. The hijinks is too light, and the other game was too wonky to be a good trick-taking game. So, not something that I really would recommend.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.